Okay, welcome to the Glorious Tradition, episode number 27, live at CervexNet in downtown Newcastle. I'm your host, Sam Flora, with my panel of experts.
Good evening.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
Everybody, okay. Tonight we have our special guest to my right, Joe Allegro from the 71, 72, 73 championship team. And Johnny Urge is here tonight to my left, and he'll be talking about football and a little bit of basketball. And we're going to talk about the shortage of officials and the NFL inconsistency. Okay, first off, we want to have a moment of silence for ex-Red Hurricane Dennis Igor Alisco, who passed away last week. Our prayers go out to his family. Thank you.
Sammy, could I add another one?
Yes.
Vince Lamorella passed away. Old-time Hurricane, played, I guess it would have been 40s or so, and they played at Princeton, and he passed away. He was 92.
Yeah, I seen that in the
And he was
paper
he
today.
loved the Hurricanes, and he painted so many beautiful pictures of paintings of he was watercolors of the stadium.
Yeah, we have that. Up at,
Is that who painted
he
that?
donated it to
Yeah,
us.
the one from Butler.
Yes.
The Butler,
Butler
one.
game.
Yeah,
Butler game.
it's in
Yeah.
it's up to school.
And
Yes.
Vince did that. And
Yes.
that's my stepfather's sister's
Oh, okay.
husband. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to start out this episode tonight. I think a few times back, I mentioned about the memoir I wrote called 28 Power, the Real Coach. So I'm going to read it, and this will get the show kicked off, and we'll go back to Joe, or Chip's going to take the lead. I started my 28 Power, the Real Coach. I sat one day and just wrote things that came from my heart about our coach, Lindy Lauro. He was our coach and our second dad in many ways. He taught us to be a young men, to express myself, to be like he was, just like my real dad was. It seemed like it came from the same mold, and I was glad for that. One day in early April 1998, he looked very grim. He was at Taggart Stadium, his stomping grounds for many years, where he was a player, and he was back as everyone's dad. Coach was coming off a rough winter with pneumonia. He told me earlier that week he had trouble getting his strength back. I told him it took time. He agreed. That tough man that when he spoke you listened was humbled in his older years. I looked over at him and said, "I'll be right back to get you a nice chair, Coach." He said, "Don't bother, I'm fine." As I got him the chair, he looked over at me and thanked me, as always. He said to me, "Well, I guess I took care of all you guys these years. Now it's time for you to take care of me." We had remained very close with Lindy, everybody, for years. He had been our coach. He was my coach for 3 years, then I was his trainer for 18 years. He sat there that day and told a story we heard many times, but how interesting it was every time he told it. What a man and what a legend. I love you, Coach, for always being there for all of us. May God bless you forever. And what I dedicated to our coach. So that's just a memoir. Joe, I'll get this to you one day.
Okay, I've heard it, I've
Yeah.
seen it before.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it was in the time when the time I wrote this is when my dad passed away earlier, and for some reason I never was a good writer ever, and something like my dad passed away, and I started writing poems. My wife was going, "Where did you ever learn how to write a poem?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I just sat down one day and started writing poems," and it gave me that like an incentive. I worked midnight shift, come home, start doodling. I can't even imagine somebody that would write a book and how much time this took me. It took me 3 years to write this because I was trying to get the right words. And all it is about what happened in the era that we played.
Right.
And my experiences with him for 3 years. And it's only like 23 pages. I had people, Rosie Fulmino. I had teachers up to high school proofread it for me. And it was just, and they didn't charge me for it because I couldn't even imagine writing a really book. We talked to Lindy tonight up at the restaurant. I said, you should get somebody to write a book about your father. I said, this guy wrote a book about Chuck Tanner, the guy,
Del Perlman.
Is that the guy?
Yes.
Del? I don't know Del Perlman, but somebody should like one day is like I told her, be serious with it. You got a lot to write about. I mean, the guy coached us for years. It'd be a great
That'd be a great read.
book.
She was around him as more than anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm trying to get her
Sure
down
was.
here too because she's busy and we understand that. But we're gonna try to pull her away one night and I'm sure she got a million stories to tell
Oh,
about
sure.
Because I remember her when she was just a little
Yeah,
girl,
yeah.
when they just had her, you know, and they were older in age.
Right.
They were older. What's Lindy now? 60? 60?
No, she's
No,
not gonna
she's
be
not
on.
57.
Oh, your age, okay.
Graduate with us.
She graduated with Perry now, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it goes back a long time, and it tells you the story. I started, and I was just looking right here, you know, when we started out football, was the hard-nosed kids from the northeast, southwest, and Mahoneytown areas. That's where we started, the West Pittsburgh areas. That's where we drew the Pop Warner, and that's how we wanted to do this show, the glorious tradition, the history of how we got this all started. So that was just a little something to get us started, get us loosened up a little bit. But we're gonna go with Chip right now, and he's gonna go right to the WPIAL.
You want to talk about the WPIAL first?
Yeah.
Okay. Playoff teams are in. Before we get started, I saw this on the news today. Good news, Joe. I don't know if you know. You probably don't know, but there was a lot of injuries, high school injuries, very serious injuries in Western Pennsylvania this year. The one was the Karn City quarterback, Mason Martin. He just got out of the hospital and he was sent to a rehab facility. So that took from September, and we're into November here. So
That was second week of the year, I
yeah,
think.
so
Yeah.
John,
He
so
got hurt?
it took
Yeah.
him that long, so it's very serious, and he's making some progress, so that's all good news there. In 6A, the two contenders are gonna be Central Catholic and North Allegheny. In 5A, Peters Township and Penn Hills. In 4A, where we're at, I broke these all down. El Pupa got the 1, McKeesport is 2, Montour 3, Mars is 4, Central Valley 5, TJ is 6, North Catholic is 7, and West Allegheny's at 8. In 3A, Bell Vernon has got the 1 seed, and Avonworth is 2. Locally here at 2A, Neshannock got the 2 seed, well-deserved after winning the MAC this past weekend. I did get a chance to watch that game. Freddie just ran right down their throats the way it looked like. Some of the stats in that game, they had 219 yards rushing, 321 yards. They held Mohawk to 6 first down, so good job, Fred, and also good luck to you and to Mohawk. Mohawk ended up with the 5th seed. Still Valley's the 1 seed, so that'll be some local connection here. Neshannock will have their first game against either Keystone Oaks or Beaver Falls next week because they got the bye. And Union's going to play at our place on Friday night, Taggart Stadium. Kickoff's going to be at 7 o'clock. They'll play Burgettstown. That's about it for the WPIAL.
You know what, Chip, go back to that MAC conference. You know, I officiate that conference. I've worked that league for years and years. That's a grind.
You ain't kidding.
That is a grueling conference.
Yep.
Now, it's not
It's not the Parkway.
the old days.
It's
It's
not the
not
Parkway that's
Newcastle,
there.
Butler, Ambridge, Sharon, Farrell. It's not the old days. But, man, Freedom, they're always hard-nosed. You look at their record, they may be 2-8, but they were in a bunch of those games. They play hard, good hard-nosed kids. Beaver Falls, that's a strong team down there.
Strong team, and they were
know.
like, what?
They took a little nosedive.
They look
They
at
did.
10, right? They're like a
Took-
10.
Yeah.
Neshannock might end up playing them in the second
they
round.
very
That'd be
well
a tough
could.
second round game.
So, you know, going and win that MAC, you know, that's not an easy thing to do.
Not this year. Is
No.
Western Beaver in there too?
Western Beavers in
They
there,
have a really,
Neshannock.
right, isn't their quarterback top?
Yeah,
Quarterback's
very-
from-
very
he's a
good
freshman.
quarterback.
He's in ninth. Is that kid in ninth grade?
Well,
Yeah,
if you
that's ninth grade.
remember back when Sean Miller played basketball at Blackhawk, there was a kid named Jimmy Peel that was the
Right.
other guard.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is his son.
Okay.
Kid's a good
He's only in
athlete.
ninth grade. Yeah, he's like ranked second
Yeah.
in the WPL in passing.
And I had them maybe about 4 or 5 weeks ago in a game, and he's the real deal.
Yeah, it was a grind.
He
Yeah.
can throw the ball.
And the Shannock earned that championship.
They sure did.
They sure
And
did.
Mohawk was very good this year.
They are.
They still are. Don't count them out.
Yeah, no, right.
But go back to 5A real quick. Don't sleep on Pine Ridgewood.
Oh, really?
Don't sleep on them. That's a good football team.
I mean, Peters Township's really been on top of everybody
Their
all year long.
defense is
They're-
amazing.
Right, they have a strong defense. And Penn Hills is there too.
Penn Hills is always so
Yeah,
athletic.
they got all them
The-
athletes.
The Duggar kid that's going to Pitt as a quarterback, but don't sleep on Pine Ridgewood.
They're well coached.
Yeah.
In that 4A. I didn't know, what was the score, final score of the Central Valley game in
It was
Aliquippa?
by 14,
Yeah, I think it was
14.
2 scores.
Yeah.
I think it was close in the first half, and then Aliquippa short. Sort of.
And we said this again, that isn't the best Aliquippa team we've seen.
No, I thought
No,
they were bigger and
no.
faster last year.
Yeah.
Thought last year they were.
Yeah,
But
they
they're
were.
Aliquippa.
Yeah.
But they're
Right.
Aliquippa.
But they're all.
But they're all
They
equipped.
always show up.
Aliquippa.
Yes.
The
The
defense
defense is really good.
I came in, was down, I was at the Beaver Falls Western Beaver game. This is my grandnephew
Oh, wow.
is the quarterback for Beaver Falls.
Oh,
Caleb
okay.
Brickner. Brickner. Now, they got beat, score-wise, they got beat pretty
Yeah.
good last Friday. But for some reason, the head coach, Beaver Falls, didn't play Caden Brickner, who threw 3 touchdown passes the week before,
Huh.
and didn't play him at all.
I don't know.
Was there a reason? They say why?
I don't know.
I
You
did
know,
hear.
I
did
I
hear
asked
that
my
is
niece, I'm
that
going
he's
like,
stepping down.
what's, who?
The coach of Beaver Falls. I heard he's Nick Nardone.
That's it, Nardone.
I heard he's
Well,
stepping down.
Yeah, and I
at the end of the
just
season.
heard even from my family,
So I don't
thing,
know
there was
if
a lot of
there's
people
Listen.
that were pretty upset with him, you know. But
It's tough being a coach.
Oh,
if you're
man.
down
Yes, it
26,
is.
and even though you didn't start your starting quarterback, if you're down 26 to nothing,
Hey,
at
make a
half,
change.
maybe you should put the quarterback in there through 3
Yeah.
touchdowns
Right.
the week before.
That's
Yep,
a big
agreed.
peanut.
Something
I
had
agree.
to happen there.
Yeah,
Definitely something had to happen.
Yep.
Don't quite know.
I don't know, but the way it is now, being a head coach of what, I'm trying not to say the wrong word. What
Then be careful.
the head cases that a lot of these guys got to take care of, and the environment they got to be in
Yeah.
with families, and
Yeah, it is.
it's got to be tough.
Well,
You know, I don't think it's easy anywhere. I think
right,
it's just.
right.
and I
it's
think
just
a lot
different.
of it has come down to high school sports are now becoming specialized.
Right.
You know, back when we were in school, when we
didn't-
played,
we-
we played
it-
football, we
yeah,
played basketball,
because
we
it
played,
didn't ma-
we ran track,
we
we
got
played
away with
baseball,
that.
we did it all.
We got away with that.
You know, or we wrestled in the winter if we didn't play basketball, or we ran
Some of these,
track
like some
and
of the
field.
coaches now, like if they got their star player, he's playing
12
like a
months,
football,
buddy.
they don't
12
want him
months.
playing
Right,
No.
basketball.
that's right,
No.
Joe.
They don't want that over.
No,
there.
and
right.
these parents are putting these athletes, young athletes, with personal trainers,
Right.
and they're spending big time money,
Year-round training
year-round
for
training.
one sport.
Yeah,
You definitely need, and I say this every week, and I say it every week, if you have to be in the weight room.
no doubt.
Back in our day, it wasn't as modified it is today. You know, we were on a little bit of weights, and their talent took over all that.
Well, the specialized part.
Yeah,
of it.
yes,
And they go like, well, why are these kids so big and fast today?
yeah,
That's
It's
why.
because they work on that one particular
Exactly.
sport
right.
year-round.
yes.
You know, if you were playing football, then you went into basketball, you weren't in a weight room.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You weren't going to do that.
And then you have the AAU stuff.
And you have all the AAU
So you
stuff,
go
yeah.
from basketball,
Into baseball,
then to AAU basketball,
Sure.
and then you travel all over the place.
And
you
that's
know,
a 12-month commitment.
And then back in our day, right?
I'm not a
we
big
did- We
fan.
played at Skineski's league,
Right.
rookie league.
right?
If we didn't play Legion ball, you played at Skineski's.
But you played in the season.
Yeah.
Right.
You played when it was
Exactly.
time to
That's
play.
right,
Exactly.
exactly.
And we survived.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
We
And
survived.
had
Yes,
fun.
we did.
Listen,
Absolutely.
I hope I'm not offending anybody.
No,
No.
no, we're
At
not saying
71,
anybody's wrong.
at 71 years old now, I guess it doesn't matter if you offend anybody. But I'm not a big.
No, it absolutely
No,
does not.
but and I know some of you guys might chime in and say the same thing. I'm not a real big fan of the AAU stuff.
No, me
Because I think a lot of
money.
it, I think
It's
if
all
you
money.
use it the right way, it's good. If you don't use it the right way, it's all about the money.
That's
It's all
it.
about
It's all about the
ruination,
money.
It's all
ruination
about
high school.
cash.
If it's used the right way, I get it. We can get that.
Yeah.
But
This
if
is what
it's,
John just said.
The ruination of high school, and I'll give the late Mark
Great.
Schoss all the credit in the world for that statement, because he's the one that said it before I
That was
did.
years ago.
It's the ruination of high school
and
sports.
Shazi and I talked about that.
Exactly.
We talked about that. Me and
Yep.
Shazi, he talked to us up to school a few
Yes,
times.
he did.
He said that. He made that statement.
Yes, he did.
I don't know if you know this guy, Mark Shaw.
Probably not.
Official, younger guy, but he passed away. He got killed in a car accident a few years ago. But he made a statement to us that night. He said it's the ruination of high school sports.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yep.
Because you don't play seasonal. You're
No.
playing.
Yep.
My granddaughter told us last night she's playing winter softball all winter. Like they'll play all the way through the winter time, like every weekend. Like it's just nothing. They play indoors. They find an indoor place to play.
Right, they find an
Yeah,
indoor.
yeah.
Up here, the weather dictates part of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
I live in Florida.
Down your way, it doesn't.
Does.
But guess what? You play baseball in high school, you play year round.
You play
right.
year round.
Listen, you play football in high school, they got spring football in
Yes.
Florida.
Yes.
You playing year round. You know, it's just
Georgia, the
it's-
Carolinas,
once you get in the
Alabama,
South,
Florida,
with,
it's there.
with the weather, you grab onto a sport. And
That killed me.
a great friend of mine is Bobby Ramsey, who
see softball and
I met through Tim Moses, who's great things with baseball in Jacksonville.
Right.
I met this guy. He went from assistant coach, I call him Beaner, at First Coast High School. Then he took a job in Yulee, which is a little bit north of Jacksonville. Took a small school, took a player named Derrick Henry.
Oh,
Is
yeah?
who he coached in high school.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah?
He's pretty good.
Yeah, you think?
He took basically a small startup school, and then he ended up coaching Derrick Henry, who obviously
Wow.
Alabama Heisman Trophy. I think at one point he,
NFL All-Pro.
yeah, I mean in high school he broke the rushing record. I don't know if it was
Number
the
one
country.
recruit in the country.
Yes.
And I mean, but those guys are again playing year round. You know, then
Sure.
when you look at the athletes out of Jacksonville, and I'm kind of plugging Jacksonville a little bit. He went to a city school, Mandarin. 2 years he went to the state, won the state. His quarterback is Carson Beck. So this kid's
Okay.
starting quarterback for Georgia.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a, you know, there's a lot of
Yeah.
but once again, the difference we were talking about, when we grew up, you could play 3 different sports and you were just going
Yes.
year round.
But again, I was a hacker in basketball, so I didn't have to play basketball.
No,
because
me
there
too, I was
guys-
a hacker. I
We
didn't
had
play
the Champ Youngs, the Butch Walkers that didn't play football.
Right.
They didn't have to play football. Wilbur Taylor in my era. Those guys didn't play football. But now, it's different. It's all different now. 'Cause
Yeah.
we need those athletes
Yes,
to
we
play
do.
all
Yep.
the sports.
Yep.
You know.
Especially small schools.
Look at,
Oh,
look,
yeah.
You're right, it's a small schools because you only got so many athletes.
That's right.
Right.
Look at
You
Union
can't
last
take
year.
one good
They play all
athlete away.
sports.
Union
from
goes to
another
the,
sport.
wins a Whitfield in football, goes to the state runner-up in football, and they're missing
Multiple-
2 weeks of basketball
mul-
practice
multiple
while
sports.
this is going on.
yes.
And then
Baseball.
4 days after the state football championship game, they're tipping off.
Yep.
Okay? 4 days.
And it didn't look like they missed
Then you
a
go into
beat.
baseball.
And
And give Mark Stanley 4 days to work with these
And
kids.
Chip said they didn't
Instead of
miss a
4
beat.
months.
They didn't miss
No,
a
they
beat.
didn't miss a
And they
beat.
didn't, because they're good athletes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, that's to your point, that,
Right.
that these kids are so specialized these days that the parents are putting all this money into this AAU and this travel ball and this
It's-
all-star
it's-
team.
it's ridiculous.
And who are they gonna take their frustrations out on?
Yeah.
The coach.
What's that ratio of making it to the big leagues?
It's the same as it was before AAU,
Exactly.
0.01%.
That's exactly right.
The same as it was 40 years ago.
No, parents don't think that, John, right?
Nothing's changed.
No, parents don't think
But
that. You're
parents
right.
Their
think
kids are gonna make
that their
Yes.
kid
All
is the
their
next,
kids are
is the
going.
next Aaron Rodgers, or the next Derek Jeter, or the next
Roberto-
Michael Jordan.
Or Roberto Manning.
Yeah.
They're looking at the
Dear
And
Lord.
hey, you know, I can understand their point of view to an extent, but who's their whipping post? The coach.
Coach.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's what makes it
Listen,
so difficult
we-
to be a coach in today's
We
day and
practiced
age.
football basically with Lindy. You started in the late spring, right?
Yeah.
And you practiced all summer. But it wasn't like you were allowed to go play baseball and you were
Sure.
allowed to go do something else, but you were forbidden to do something that wasn't in the season. You weren't forbidden to do that.
Right.
You played football.
Right.
It was football season. It's time to play football. That's just the way it was.
Oh, yeah, one of the things I can remember going up to the stadium and working out in the summers.
Right.
Yep.
I didn't run in the door and
Run the
that.
right.
steps.
And then when we're done
Run
in the
the
morning,
track,
then you
yeah.
go out and you're playing baseball.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know what I mean, at night.
Yeah, you had your
That's-
baseball.
When you
on,
look
because that
back,
was the season.
that kept us in shape.
That's exactly
Made
right.
us a better baseball player or whatever we were
Yep.
doing in the
Right.
summer.
Right.
You know, you're-
That's right, Joe.
You're right, Joe. Go ahead, Chip.
Where are we
Finish
going
up.
next? Baseball?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the baseball. World Series is on right now. Ziggy's not here tonight, but I know Ziggy was on this in the summer about Texas. They won 10 games on the road, just amazing. Most all time, nobody's ever won 10 games on the road
amazing,
like
huh?
that. They're up 3-1, they're playing tonight. Corey Sager, he could be the second player to win the World Series MVP with 2 different teams. They lost 2 players this week, and they didn't miss a beat either.
No.
Garcia and Scherzer could be out for the rest of the series.
And Garcia's that's a huge
Oh,
loss.
that'd be like
That's a
losing
big
Clemente,
loss,
John,
huge
right?
loss.
The Pirates would have lost Clemente,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I ain't saying he's not that good, but he's our best player.
Right,
Yeah.
he is.
So,
He is.
at one time.
He got hit on the wrist or
Yeah.
whatever the one night. It was
Right.
just like it was nothing.
But God
Hit a
bless
home run
him.
the next
The next,
day.
yeah, next inning.
Next time he batted, he hit a home run.
You know, they spent the money
Who
on
like
their
this?
middle
Yeah.
infield. They spent the money and it ended up. So
Spent the money there.
we'll see what
spent
happens.
The money on their pitching
I don't know. We
staff.
were talking earlier. It's like out of the last 29 World
Some-
Series games that are up 3-1, the team that's up 3 usually wins.
Sure.
Right? They won like 6 out of 29.
Spent the money. Something
Yep.
Bob Nutting won't do.
Yeah, so, no, you gotta spend it. Let's see. We'll go to the NFL because we have our insider, our Ravens insider this week. He's gonna be Adam Schefter, because he went. Adam Schefter actually. Whoa! Sammy just went to Baltimore. Randy went all the way to Arizona. Right, went to Arizona this week to see Gino.
We froze
and-
our ass off and he.
Randy his son. It's sunny.
Gino got his, how many?
Fifth.
5
Five, yeah.
interceptions.
Fifth pick.
I don't know how
Awesome.
anybody could miss that. 4 tackles, 3 solos. So Randy, what do you know about what happened out there? What was going on with the Ravens?
They were just playing just great football. I mean, Arizona they weren't that good of a football
But guess
team.
what, though? They came back,
But they
killed
did come
everybody
back.
on the spot.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
8.5, wasn't it?
Yeah, they beat the spread. But yeah, I mean, it was and Ravens just were there to play football.
You talked to Gino after?
Joe, not much has
We went
changed since
and
you
saw
left.
Gino after the game, and we got to see him for a little bit before they left because they were leaving that night to go home.
Did you ask him about the interceptions? Is he like, what's he?
I just
say?
told him congratulations.
You didn't say,
and,
how did you do this?
and with his hand.
Busted
Yeah.
the balls.
How do you do that?
How do you just come from Iowa, land at the Ravens, and lead the NFL? in
Penn
interceptions?
State and Pitt didn't want it.
And be picked last in the NFL
Yeah,
draft. that
so,
year.
I mean, just,
Seventh
it's quite a
round, right?
story. It keeps going on, you
Yes,
know.
it does.
They're
He's
6
as
and
humble
2.
as pie, though.
Yes,
he's
oh,
a-
he
he's
is.
a-
He's
he's
a,
great
he's
guy.
a wonderful kid.
Great enough.
But I'm
Great
still
kid.
going to
Yeah, I
say
know, I'm like,
his
I can't
favorite
follow
pick
him,
was
you
when he
know,
picked
so.
6th against Penn State.
Pick 6, right? I
Yeah.
saw that.
That's got to be
I
his
saw
favorite
that.
interception.
I was watching.
That and the one he picked off Bennett last game.
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
got Roethlisberger.
I told you guys a
He was
story
the
about that.
last one to pick up.
Yeah, it was the
off.
last
Yeah,
one.
the last one.
Listen,
Yes,
I
he
told
was,
him, I
Joe.
said,
That's right.
he was so fired up for the game.
Yep.
I said,
He's a
Gino,
player.
the game's over. Everybody's, shaking hands with everybody. That's the last pass, he interception. Why didn't you go up to him and make him sign a football? He looked at me and go, I don't know. I just walked in the locker room. I said, Ben Roethlisberger, intercepted his pass.
The last pass he ever in his career.
Somewhere down the road, you got to go make him
So
sign.
here's another one. We're watching. They're playing the Patriots, and after the game, Gino goes up to Brady,
Brady.
and he shakes his hand, and Brady starts laughing. So the next 2 days, I said, Sam, you got to talk to Gino. What did he say to Brady to make him laugh? I guess Gino went up to him, shook his hand, said, nice to meet you, and he went, I could have hit you. But I
You know I could have.
could have hit you, but I didn't.
Listen, you remember what you were doing when you were 24? We all remember. He's 24 years old, this
Playing
kid.
NFL.
In the
So,
NFL.
he's seeing the world. He was in London. He's seeing the United States. He goes, and he's in every port that you can think of,
Oh, yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
just, what an experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we got Malik Hooker also
got
with the
Malik Hooker
Cowboys.
with the Dallas Cowboys.
Big game this week against Philadelphia.
Yep.
And both teams are doing well.
Yes, both teams are doing very
So,
well.
so good for
They
these
crushed
kids,
the
huh?
Rams
So
last
good.
week.
Sure
It's
is.
good for the, it's good for the,
It's good for the
Hey,
community.
both of these
Yeah.
defensive backs, right?
But you know the
They came out of Newcastle, went to the Big Ten.
They're safe. They're
It's
both
a-
safe.
we're gonna get to that later.
Safety there, right? I mean,
Got a safety here.
we got a safety sitting
Since
right
you
here
left
on our
town,
desk.
not a lot has changed. You notice the most important thing was they covered the spread. Not much has changed since you went outside.
John, as Ziggy would say, when babies are born to Jameson, they don't like Maslin. They don't give them a football. They give them a rundown. That's Ziggy's line.
That's good.
Dennis is
That's a
running
good
back.
one.
I'll put the plug in for you, Zig.
Um, There were some big injuries this week in NFL too. Kirk Cousins,
yeah.
Matt Stafford, Kenny Pickett. Was
What happened to Stafford? What was his
Thumb.
His
Oh, his
thumb.
thumb.
Thumb
His thumb.
Gonna be
Left
out for a
Left
while.
thumb.
Left thumb.
And was
throw is
Pickett
right.
ankle or?
No, ribs.
Ribs.
Oh, that's right,
Ribs, yeah.
ribs.
He's gonna say he's
He's gonna
playing,
play
but
tomorrow night.
they're not really haven't
Cousins
said
blew
yet.
his,
Achilles.
Game time decision.
That's-
he's
Yeah.
done for a year.
Yeah.
he's
Big games this week. Miami at Kansas City. Kansas City's in Frankfurt.
like Miami.
9:30 a.m.
I love my.
Seattle and Baltimore, Dallas and Philadelphia, and then Buffalo and Cincinnati's Monday night.
That'd be a good game.
And we
Yeah.
talked earlier about Chase Young, 49ers. That's just a
You
hell
got,
of a
what,
pickup there.
Pittsburgh, Tennessee tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Why let him go?
Right.
I mean, Washington, I mean,
He said,
Money.
They said
Cash.
he couldn't
Cash.
conform. They said he couldn't
Washington
conform.
said he
Yeah.
couldn't conform.
I guess that could.
Damn
That means-
Buckeyes. You know what I mean? Well, I didn't say that, did I? Yeah, I did.
You
Be
beat
careful.
Penn
My wife's an alum now. Be
State.
careful.
I'm not gonna
I
say
gotta
that.
go home to that.
Penn State. Joe, you beat Penn State.
Yeah.
I didn't say nothing.
Twice.
Joe, did they recruit you?
Nope.
Nope. Good for you then. All right, let's talk about the
And neither did Pitt once
NCAA.
again.
The Buckeyes ended up #1 this week in the rankings. Georgia 2, Michigan 3, and Florida State 4. Ohio State just had a stronger schedule, and that defense was really good. And marvelous Marvin Harrison, best in the NCAA, John. I don't care about the quarterbacks or whatever. This guy,
Best player.
real deal. To
Best
me,
player
Heisman
in
guy
college
is
football right
Harrison.
No
he
question.
made that catch Saturday.
He's
It was
phenomenal.
unreal.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you see when you see Calvin Johnson.
That was a Lynn Swan.
That's a Lynn
That was a
Swan
Lynn
kind of
Swan
story.
Yeah, it
catch.
was.
I mean,
That's a good-
Okay.
So you
good
can see
description.
that
Yeah.
right there. So the Buckeyes, they wiped over Wisconsin. It really
Chip,
wasn't that
what'd your
close.
team do, Notre Dame?
I have that written
Because
here.
you have, by the way, that pit jacket. I don't know who you stole it off of, but
Well, I
give it
lost
back
the
to him. Give it back to him, would you?
I lost the
Please?
bet.
He got a little afraid.
Yeah, just give that back to him, would you? Please?
You're done.
I should have said over there.
You are done.
The Panthers lost 58.
So who, Chip?
It's a nightmare. They don't have a
Oh,
quarterback. They're
Nope.
it's just out of sync.
It's in
Everything's out of
disarray. They
And-
really
You know,
are.
I was a Pitt fan at one time, and and I haven't given a reason
Listen, it
why.
needs
It needs
taken
overhaul.
down
Yes.
to the lowest level.
Yes.
and
Ever.
Completely rebuilt.
Right,
Ever.
exactly
And I
right. I
think they're
totally
heading in
agree.
that
It's a mess.
They have
Yes.
to.
They have.
They have
to.
to.
They don't get any
They
recruit. They don't
cannot
get
keep
good
an assistant
recruits.
coach.
Once you start losing, you're not.
They,
Yeah,
they
right,
can't keep
exactly.
anyone
No, they
Get
can't.
down so low.
related to this
Yeah, I
program.
agree.
Right.
Because
Kids
this
don't go.
program's just
Right,
gone.
I
It's
agree.
gone.
Yep.
I
I
agree.
And
totally
no
agree.
one's going to want to play there.
No.
I agree.
No, you're
With
right.
the way NIL money's
And it gets
floating
worse
around
with the
and
NIL.
transfer
Yeah.
portals,
Right.
no one is going to want to come to
And
Pitt.
that's going to be
No.
key.
Yep.
That's, they have to rebuild.
That's right.
So that's going to happen.
It's got to go down to the bare bones.
That'll lead us into Ohio State. I just pulled up some stuff on Joe Allegro here, 1977 graduate. Joe, I saw this. They had 3 losses your senior year, right? Lost 3 times. Oklahoma was #3 in the country. Michigan was 5 in the country. You only lost 14-6, and then you lost to Alabama.
Alabama and the Sugar Bowl.
So you lost to all really good teams, but that's 3 really good teams in the Big Ten. You went 7-1 in the Big Ten, but during your career you beat Penn State twice, and that's
That's okay.
fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
That's awesome.
Especially, they left me sitting at my kitchen table. True story.
Wow.
Every Friday, we had 8 visits back then.
Right.
Lindy called me up and says, yeah, Penn State's coming. I'm going, okay, I get a call. Well, because they were in the area, they were going to pick me up and drive me that weekend. Because the other places I went, we flew.
Right.
They were going to pick me up. So me and my dad, we're sitting at the kitchen table.
Nobody comes.
Nobody shows up. Look, seriously. I lost a visit. We were only allowed 8 visits. No, I sat home.
Oh, you did.
Joe, was that Paterno that was supposed to come, or was that some of the assistants?
One of the
Probably
assistants.
somebody.
Yeah, it was supposed to come.
Gino was. I don't even know if Gino was even. They didn't recruit him
No.
heavy at all.
Pitt or Penn State?
No,
Pitt didn't either.
no, Pitt
Pitt
didn't
gave an
either.
excuse. I think the excuse with Pitt was he wasn't fast enough.
Who wanted him back?
He ended up at Iowa.
Pitt
Or he
made me
went to
buy
Kent
my
State.
own
He-
ticket.
Kent State,
Yeah,
Kent
Fort
State
Riley,
won
Kent
them.
State.
Pitt made me buy my own ticket. Like, represent his son was goosey. Hey, everybody got free tickets to go down for a game, right? Like, yeah, Joe, you want to come along? Like, yeah, but you got to buy your ticket. Like, seriously. Because me, but you know, if you want to come along with your buddies, you got to buy your own ticket.
Oh, wow.
That's my Pitt and Penn State story.
That's beautiful. How during the recruiting process, how did Ohio State get you? What was the sell?
Well, to be honest, really not too many colleges had called me up and said anything to me. But Ohio State played in the Rose Bowl, and they didn't get a chance. Couldn't get out in recruiting till after the Rose Bowl,
Right.
January. Well, George Trump, who's the offensive coordinator, had Western Pennsylvania because he's from Pennsylvania.
Right.
His buddies were a couple coaches, Beaver Falls, Elwood City. They're behind the 8 ball, so they call him up, say, hey, you know, who do you think's good in your conference? Like, you know, we should take a look at. So I got 2 references from 2 head coaches, you know, and they were actually the first school to offer me a visit.
Oh, wow.
And what happened when I went down there, when I got back, Wednesday or Thursday, my mailbox was full. Once all the other schools found out that Ohio State is recruiting
Ah,
me,
here they come.
here they come. Then everybody else.
I
showed up.
remember that. Lindy told us that story about
I-
that. A little story, not a big story.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have an offer before Ohio State
Wow,
Wow.
unbelievable.
showed up at the school and took me in the
You
auditorium.
started your
or something.
76 and 77 season,
2 seasons, yeah.
2 seasons.
And I played in a Big 33 game before I went down.
Yep, we talked about that.
And I separated my shoulder in the Big 33 game. A kid from Penn State. We were practicing. He was in shoulder pads and shorts. I'm out catching the pass because I was a receiver, a flanker, and a defensive back. He undercuts me in shorts and pads. Separated my shoulder. And I only played defense in the Big 33 game.
What a separated shoulder.
With a separated shoulder.
But only made it through the first half. I
Yeah.
couldn't play the second
Right,
half.
yeah.
And so when I went to Ohio State 2 weeks later, my first 6 weeks,
You're sitting.
I'm done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It took me 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't
Couldn't
2
practice.
weeks prior. I couldn't
Yeah.
practice, and then it
Sure.
just took me time to get involved. You know, but it,
Incredible.
you know,
It even makes the
Play for Ohio
story
State.
even bigger
Yeah.
because you were sidelined at the beginnings. And
Yeah.
most guys nowadays, that happens. You go to Ohio State, and
Red
there's
shirt,
guys coming
right
right
now.
behind you,
Yeah.
just as good as you. And
oh, I was laying in a bunk bed. I called my dad up. I said, "Dad, come and get me out of here." He goes, "Nope."
Nope.
good.
He wouldn't come and get me.
That's right.
That was a good move.
Joe, tell us these 2 stories. One story is when you went and talked to Ron Plano, and you told him you're going to Ohio State. Tell us about that story, because Coach Plano was on the show, and he told us about that story. So you give us your side.
My side of the story, he was a driver's training.
Yep.
You know. So my senior year, I was 16. My freshman year at Ohio State, I played 17 years old because my birthday's in December.
Right.
So I had driver's training room playing. Coach Plano was the
Right.
teacher.
Yeah.
So we're driving around North Hill. He's going like, yeah, this is after, you know, he goes like, Ohio State. He's like, Joe, man, he goes, that's a mistake. He goes, you don't want to go to Ohio State. I almost ran a stop sign. You know, about the
Dual brakes.
They got the dual brakes on the passenger side. He hit the brakes, stopped the car. He's like, yeah. He goes, man, it's better if you're a little. He goes, if you go there, you're going to be a little fish in a big pond. You could go somewhere else and be a big fish in a little pond. I'm going like, okay, whatever, you know. But the whole thing about Ohio State was, as I went through those other 7 visits, because of Penn State left me at the kitchen table, I looked at my dad, and I'm going like, shit, I wasn't planning on going to college with a full ride. I'm going like,
Right on. Yeah.
Well,
why not try the best school out there?
Right.
Right.
I mean, they were like ranked number 1 or 2. Well, they were at 4 Rose Bowls, or 2 Rose Bowls before I got. Yeah, when I was there, we were 4 in a row. I went to 2 Rose Bowls, but that class went to 4 Rose Bowls. I'm going, what the hell? It's a free education. Might as well go give it a shot
Right.
at the best school.
Right.
You know.
I got a question for
Absolutely.
you. How do you compare Coach Hayes to Coach Lauro?
They're exactly alike.
I
Exactly alike. And that's why you know
why
what I
they
mean?
won.
It was no different.
Same
Playing with-
transition was easy.
It was easy. The work ethic, you know what? You take a day off. He hated Sundays, Woody Hayes, because like
Couldn't
you play the
practice.
game. You know what I mean? Sunday you go in, but you know what? Monday we were basically in pads again. Because the more time you
So
take
nothing
off, the
changed.
longer it takes you to get
Nothing
back.
changed.
Right.
Nothing
Nothing
changed
changed.
at all.
Changed.
The work ethic, what he expected of you, the grades. I mean, both were historians.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the pep speeches, the pep talks,
Right.
we're all the same also.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so,
And Joe, anybody that sat in your seat and come back here and talk like you're talking, they said the same exact thing. When they got to college, it was no different.
Right.
Actually, some of them said it was a little easier
Easier, yeah.
than what Coach Lauro's
Those,
practice
those
was.
old school coaches, man, those guys couldn't coach today. They
Yeah,
couldn't.
we always say that.
No,
they
you
wouldn't
know,
be allowed
guys,
to coach.
guys like Woody Hayes, like Coach
be
I
Lauro,
always say that.
guys like Joe Fusco at
Westminster.
Westminster. Those guys, they couldn't do it because they would have physically attacked some of these players.
Oh, yeah. of course.
Because the first player
Of course
that,
we get.
the first player that would give them a back mouth, they'd have got a backhand.
Right.
And
Right.
lawsuits and everything, that's why I'm saying,
Yeah, that's why.
these guys just could not.
You know, Lindy would come up,
could
he'd
not
grab your
coach.
face mask, get your
And
attention.
twist it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Woody would do the same thing.
sure.
The only little difference between Woody and Coach Laura was when Woody did it, he'd like grab your face mask, then he'd punch you in the stomach.
Lindy gave you a forearm.
No, Lindy would just like kind of twist
But I bet
it.
Woody never swore at you in Italian. though.
I bet you.
But he would grab the face mask and kind of get your attention. Then he'd like try to punch you in the stomach. He'd punch like,
It's twisted.
250, 75-pound
You know,
guys.
Coach Fusco, he told me a story. I was at a Westminster basketball game last year, and I was sitting next to Coach Fusco. He said, we have his game this one time, he said, and the line judge in front of me is an African-American fella. He said, and I'm swearing at him in Italian, knowing he doesn't understand what I'm saying, right? He said, so every time something would happen, I'd swear again in Italian at him. He said, didn't this guy turn around and answer me in Italian? And he said, Coach, my father was stationed in the Marine Corps. We were all over the world. He said, I spent 8 years in Italy.
Oh, boy.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. All
You
right,
know,
now,
back to the Big 33, real quick. You played in the Big 33 game, which, what an honor. I mean, what an honor to play in that game.
Actually, two of the players I played against were my roommates at Ohio
In
State.
Ohio.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool.
So we became great friends.
This will be Super Bowl 58 coming up. And the first 57 Super Bowls had at least one Big 33 player.
Wow.
In
that's a
each
good.
That's a
Super
good one,
Bowl.
Johnny.
Yeah.
in each of the 57 Super Bowls.
Wow, that's a crazy
So if
stat
it happens
there.
again this year, it'll keep the streak going. At least one. Yep.
Wow.
How many did we send, Joe, to the Big 33 game with you?
It was me and Gucci.
Who's?
Gilbert Lewis. Yeah.
Yeah.
We went down.
He went to Arizona or State?
Yeah.
He still lives in Arizona.
Yeah, he's still in Arizona.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Gucci in years.
Yeah, we went down 2 weeks to practice at Gettysburg. And
I was there.
and I think
I didn't play, but I was there.
yeah, and I think the
I went
game
with
the game was actually held in Harrisburg, maybe, I think.
Yeah.
It was
Probably.
in
The
Harrisburg.
practice
yeah.
was in
Probably.
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg.
The greatest experience I ever had in my life was going down there going into my senior year. Lindy took me along, and going to Gettysburg, going to look over that field and see all those
Yeah.
those graves. It was real touching. It was only like we went to Hawaii to see Pearl Harbor. Thinking,
Who was playing? Do you remember? Who'd you
a
go?
guy named John Scorpan, back in the day.
The name sounds
From Beaver. He's from Beaver.
Right.
Johnny Scorpan. Real good quarterback from Erie. I can't think. Denny. I forget his last name, but he was from Erie Prep or Erie, one of them schools up there.
Was Lindy coaching?
Lindy was coach, Art Bernardi and Art Walker. They were three,
Oh,
they were
wow.
three coaches.
Wow. There's three
Three
legends.
Listen,
Yes, sir.
listen, real quick. I had to stay overnight. The game they got beat. The Pennsylvania Stars team got beat. So I had to spend the night with Art Bernardi. He snored, and I mean, God rest your soul, Art, Mr. Coach Bernardi. I didn't sleep one wink. That's the first time that I ever remember that I heard somebody snore that bad. I thought the guy was dying.
Were you roommates? Were you
I had to sleep in the
in the
same
same
room with
hotel
him.
room? You and Art
Lindy
Bernard.
gotta go sleep with Bernardi. Lindy was so upset because they lost. You know, go sleep with Bernardi. And they drank all night long. So that made it even worse. I'm 17 years old sleeping with the coach and he's snoring like a lion. Oh, God.
Story.
Well, Joe, listen, we're gonna go right to the questions I talked to you about earlier. Your fondest moments of Lindy. One of your fondest moments of Lindy.
Well, he's the one that kept me at Newcastle. My father was a machinist, was working company in Elwood
See
City.
how interesting things get when we ask these
Never
questions?
knew that.
And he was offered a job at Lordstown. This was my junior year, right after my junior year. So my dad's taking a job at Lordstown. He's going like, hey, we're moving to Poland, Ohio. I'd have to play for Poland.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to leave. I wouldn't be playing for Newcastle my senior year. I was outside. Me and my dad were outside. Lindy pulls up in the driveway, gets out of the car, and he goes, Mr. Allegro, come here. He goes, He goes, you're not taking your son. You're not taking him. Let
You
him
learn
play
something every day.
at Poland. He goes,
Wow.
and really, he goes, if he stays and plays with us, he wasn't talking about, how good he goes. He's going to have a much better opportunity getting a
Yes, you sure
scholarship
Yep.
than if you go play for Poland, which was like this big. You know what I mean?
Right.
And look what happened.
But he showed up in the driveway. And my dad knew who he was. He went to all
Right.
the games. He was like, "Man, what's Lindy Lauro doing here?" So, my dad ended up driving from West Pittsburgh to Lordstown for a year.
Wow.
An extra
Sacrifice.
45 minutes.
What our parents
You know.
do, what our parents did.
And
Joe,
then,
what kind
now
of
we're parents
you're-
doing for our kids.
What kind of person was your dad? Because I never met your father. What kind of person was he to say, okay, here comes Coach Lauro? And some parents could have said, well, I'm sorry, but this is where we're going. Was your kind of dad to say, let me think about this, and I'll see what we can do? Or did he just go along with the flow?
I'm not real sure on that. I'm sure that knowing my dad probably said, all right, give me a minute or, give me a day and,
Yeah.
let me, because I don't think my dad ever thought about that.
Right.
What the difference of going from one school to the other.
Your dad made a great decision.
Yeah, he
Sure
sure
did.
did.
Right. The Ohio
Yeah.
State.
And didn't have to pay for the schooling,
And didn't have to pay for the schools. Unbelievable.
which he probably would have made me work for the school. Because, he was just one of those guys,
Yeah.
one of the Italian guys like out of Newcastle.
Right.
You worked in the mill, you're a machinist, you worked your butt off, you never graduated. He started out at the railroad, Beano Railroad, as a machinist, locomotive. He got a pension from there. He got a pension from Elwood. He worked there long enough. As a matter of fact, he worked Elwood City and Lordstown, 2 jobs for probably 9 months. One, like 6 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon, then would drive whenever
4
he
to
got
12.
there, 4 to 12. Drive from Lordstown back to West Pittsburgh, sleep 2-3 hours,
Get up and go back
get
to
up and
work.
go to Elwood.
Was he a tool and die man, Joe?
Machinist, yeah, tool and die.
Yeah.
Basically at Lordstown, he did,
Wow.
all the prototypes, like he
Jeez.
was doing that.
And did he end up moving over to Ohio then after that?
Yeah, he actually, he built a house in Poland.
Okay.
And then, right after I graduated, high school, then, the house was done and
Right.
He moved to Poland, but he was only doing the one job, so he was,
Yeah.
you know, that much closer to Lordstown.
It's a great story.
Over
Yeah,
there.
it is.
That's a
Great
great,
story, great story.
oh, yeah.
Go to,
Yeah.
go to the biggest, one of the biggest questions is, now we keep these things at PG, Camp Rent's memories. Everybody had that same face.
Everybody.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I'm sure you got 100 of them. That was the only questions we've asked. We had a Tuano, microphone, and Chucky
Chucky
Kuro.
Kuro.
It was hysterical, their stories. Go ahead, Joe.
There's just so many. I don't know. Just good and bad. I mean, just the camaraderie that you build there.
Everybody says that.
Just what it does as a young athlete. I mean, you know, where we stayed, you know, in the cabins, and you showered outside, and you know, you went to the bathroom outside. You know,
Basically.
you practiced in a parking lot in weeds, basically weeds.
In the ski.
Sometimes no lines on the field.
Right.
And when you got up the next day for morning practice, and we had 3 practices a day back then too, because they had special teams like in the evenings
Yeah.
for a little bit. But, you know, getting up in the morning for the morning practices and going to the equipment building, was it Mr. Pugh?
Yep.
Would be handing out your equipment, and it was still wet and stinky.
The day before.
And
Cold
And cold.
from the day before. And you start it all over again. You know, I don't know, did they ever wash our stuff
No.
while we were
We
out
just
there?
gave you new stuff. Randy was the manager.
Yeah.
He was a student manager and student trainer.
Yeah, and but that, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you're just so busy and you're just working so hard, and you just like, man, there's no place to go. I mean, you're with your teammates. You know, you're with your buddies.
Yeah.
And you know, and that, you know, that builds a good team.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody gets to know everybody. Because we had people from West Pittsburgh, you know, and it's South Side, East Side, North Side. you know,
That's what we all,
West Side,
that's what
you
we
know.
all said. We went our ways in Pop Warner, then you got to George Washington and Ben Franklin, then there was that crosstown rival, then all of a sudden, bang,
Everybody's together.
you have to, it's,
Now you're through the funnel.
it was
Yep.
that fast, you had to
Yep.
be friends and.
Friends,
get along.
yeah.
That's right.
You
was
couldn't be
over.
enemies because everybody's like, yeah, well, not enemies, but you know, it's basically,
Oh, we
That's what
hated
made it
Washington, they hated us. I mean,
Yeah, that's what made it
yeah,
work.
everybody hated
And then when
everybody.
you got up there, everybody's
Well,
good.
I wouldn't say hate,
Right,
dislike.
yeah.
That's what made it
Yeah, okay,
work.
dislike,
absolutely.
good work. But-
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what made a good
But,
football
but
team.
it's where friendship turned to brotherhood.
Yeah,
There it is,
absolutely.
Johnny.
You know, we talked about Ralph Pugh. Is he still living? Does anybody know if he's still living?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But he was, his first question was, where's yours? Mr. Pugh,
Yeah.
I don't have I can't find my sock. Where's yours? Where's yours?
Where's
I
yours?
don't know. If I knew where they were at,
I wouldn't ask
I
you.
wouldn't have asked you. And I didn't, not too many times did I learn not to ask him for a jock strap or a pair of socks, those Gottlieb cotton long sleeve shirts. Today they wear,
It was
today
like
they
he was
wear,
paying for them.
today they wear their pants up like this.
Yeah.
There you go. Sam.
And they wear their shirts all the way up in here. So it's like crazy. Yeah. We do a lot of demonstrating. Right?
I do a lot of
We
demonstrating.
didn't put
Visual
28 power
effects.
up. We didn't put 28 power up on the board yet, but that's coming.
Can't wait for that. I can't wait for that.
28 power. We're gonna get a grease board one day.
It's coming, right, Sammy?
Oh, it's coming. This is no scripted. We don't do any script. Whatever comes to the top of
Hey,
our head.
Sam, before you get to the officials, my buddy Michael Mescal, he watches the show faithfully. And he really enjoys the show. And he's like a card collector in baseball. He said he come across a pit program. Lindy's in there playing pit. I don't know if you can get it up on the screen.
Holy smokes.
It was 1948
Wow.
when Lindy played for Pitt.
Got it wrong? There you go. There's Lindy. Boy, does Lindy,
His name's
does his daughter
Lindoro
look just
Lauro.
like him?
Yep.
Lindoro Lauro. See that, Joe?
Yeah.
He's in a pit program.
There
Right
in
in
the
the
middle.
middle.
Wow.
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 You good-looking son of a gun, you. I love
And
that.
Sam, this picture here was in the 1930s. It was Newcastle playing Sharon at Tiger Stadium. Look at the fans in the end zone by the shop. I mean, you might not see it on the screen, but
Where am I going?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
if you look
Wow,
way in
look
the
at
back,
that. Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
Look at that,
stands,
yeah.
in stands right by the shop in Ben Franklin School.
Oh, yeah.
Packed house.
Look at the people on the
Johnny, look
street.
at the uniforms.
Yeah.
Everybody's
And
out.
if you notice,
Yep.
those posts, is those a light post inside before they put them on the outside?
It looks like it,
Looks
yeah.
like it.
Those look like it.
Looks like all those.
You know,
stadiums
Joe, we
are
were the
inside
first stadium
fence.
to have lights. You knew that, right?
No, I
Yeah,
guess.
we were the
In the
first.
country.
stadium
We're the
in
first
country.
stadium.
In the
In the
country.
country.
Thank you, Michael, for these pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First
thanks,
high
Mike.
school.
Thanks, Mike.
Tiger was the first high school
Thank you,
stadium in the country.
To have
Look
lights.
at the people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Remember I asked you last week if he, I told you.
That's the
about
guy?
it. That's the guy.
Oh, hey, thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Look at them people.
You are the
I
man.
don't remember stands in there.
There's no empty seats.
Bobby, there wasn't any when we were growing up. There- In that end zone. There
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Listen, I remember when 1960, you might have been a sophomore, we played up Carrick.
Amazing.
Remember we had that little fight with Carrick
That
over
was-
out
That was the fight. That was Westinghouse.
that Westinghouse.
I was a sophomore.
I was sitting in the student section like this. You couldn't move.
No,
There was
No.
packed.
always. It was always packed.
Oh, every game,
Every game.
solid. These guys played too. There was packed houses both sides. We still had the cement stands back in
Yeah.
the day.
Right.
Well, we were lucky we get 1,200 people.
Right.
That's counting the visitors, right, Randy?
It's counting visitors.
Listen, I'm going to go right to officiating because it's getting kind of late. And a lot of us are in bed by now, especially Randall. He gets up really early.
I'll keep them
Ronnie, put the
awake.
Yeah, keep it awake.
Put the coffee on.
I get up early because it's just a habit. But that's just, and Bobby outside. Hey, this guy behind me today was sitting outside at 20 to 8. He sends me a picture of drinking coffee, sitting outside. It was 28 degrees outside.
With a t-shirt.
What's the matter with
With
him?
no shirt on?
No, he had a shirt on.
T-shirt and shorts.
And
I'm
shorts.
surprised he had a t-shirt on.
Oh, he had a shirt
I've
on.
walked up many times, he's no shirt on.
It was a little bit cold. He had a short sleeve shirt. But anyway, we're going to go right to officiating. And right question, John, right from you, right off the top of the bat. What's the deal with the shortage? Talk to us a little bit about this.
Well, yeah, and, you know, this is my 40th year in this business. I got into it right out of high school, and I've been fortunate to be able to go as long as I have. Back in the day, it was not uncommon for us to work 3, 4, 5, 6 years of junior high and JV ball before we got a chance to get on the varsity field on a Friday night. Nowadays, and I'll give you a prime example. Last Friday, we worked at Elwood Riverside game. And our head linesman had gotten into an accident on Tuesday and couldn't work. So we had to get a replacement. We notified our commissioner. He sends us this guy. I didn't recognize the guy's name. Guy shows up in our locker room. I said, how many years you been doing this? He said, I passed my test 2 weeks ago.
Oh, jeez. Come on.
I said,
That's the problem.
I said, I passed my test 2 weeks ago.
On a varsity game.
And he's on on the Elwood Riverside game.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, now,
Crosstown rivals.
yeah, Elwood's decent. Riverside's kind of having a down year. It's not going to be much of a game. But it's Elwood Riverside. Anything can happen in that
Yeah,
game.
that's.
Okay, who's dating whose cousin or whose ex-girlfriend, or, you know, those kids all know each other. They don't like each other, and something can happen. And here's this kid, and I call him a kid. He's 23 years old. The ink on his card isn't even dry yet, and he's on a varsity game.
Wow.
So we are suffering a shortage, and you know it's multifaceted. It's in multiple sports. It's in all different parts of the country. It's not only, you know, a Pennsylvania thing or an eastern part of the country thing. People just don't want to get into this avocation anymore. They really don't.
Because of the fans?
Or
I'm
parents.
not going to blame.
Parents.
I'm not going to blame certain groups, but back in the day, players played, coaches
coached.
coached, and parents watched.
Yep.
Now, We talked about it 20 minutes ago. The coach is the whipping boy for the parents because they're investing 20 grand a year into their kid playing AAU ball.
Exactly.
They're coming after us too because we didn't make a holding call and their kid got tackled. Well, maybe that other team's good enough to tackle him.
Right.
So it's part of it. The abuse from the fans, the abuse from the coaches. Quite honestly, players aren't what they used to be. A player would never, ever, ever challenge an official before. Now, we have to sometimes actually physically walk that player over to the coach and say, hey, he's in danger of getting a flag. You better do something before I do.
Right.
Times have changed. And people just don't want to do it. We get some young guys in, they hang around a year, maybe two, we don't see them anymore.
I'm out of here.
John, is part of it economics too, where a lot of these guys may have jobs that.
Part of it is,
either
sure.
working nights or working.
Sure.
And I know some of you guys, sometimes you guys get in a car and you're not going out to Laurel, you're going
Oh, we're going
Pontiac
to Laurel,
Lake.
we're going to Laurel Highlands
Laurel
sometimes.
Highlands.
Yeah.
So not everybody can do it either.
Right.
You used to go to Connellsville.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Johnstown, Latrobe, Westmoreland County, Derry, Deer Lakes,
What do we pay?
all of 90,
92.
92.
$92.
That's probably why it's-
$92.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent.
But think about it though. If you gotta travel,
If you're travel, that
You're putting
$92
gas in
is a
the
good, yeah.
you're stopping to eat after the game.
If I've got to go to Latrobe for $92, I lose money.
Right.
I lose money. And I have a meeting during the week. I have film session that I watch during the week. Friday night, I don't have a game this Friday, but let's say I have, who's Union playing, Burgettstown?
Burgettstown.
Let's say I had the Union Burgettstown game. Tonight, I would be watching Burgettstown's last 3 games on film. And I would be watching Union's last 3
Your
games on
tendencies.
film.
Tendency.
To learn their tendencies. Their quarterback right-handed? Is their punter right-footed? Do their return men block before?
How they set their formation.
How do they set their formations? Do they run misdirection?
Yeah.
Do they run a wing T? Do they run an option? Do they pass a lot? Do they throw a lot? Do they, I need to learn those things as an official.
And it's not easy.
No,
And they got 6 guys.
So, I've got to understand the game, number one, be able to tell what type of game I'm going to have. And then I've got to go learn what's going on. And it's a commitment, it really is.
John, you're doing that.
Yeah.
Is everybody doing that?
Everybody should be,
They should be, but how many do you think actually do that?
20%.
20%. But,
25
They
maybe.
show up on Friday.
that's all.
yeah. I'd imagine
Okay.
that's an excellent
Yeah.
commitment
Yeah.
to take the
It's,
time to go and
Get
do
to
that.
$92.
You
For
get
example,
92.
Southside
Pick the money up and
Beaver,
walk.
single A team who Union may see here in a week or two, beat Union a couple weeks ago.
Right.
They run a wing T, but they run a modified wing T. They have 2 backs in the backfield, not one, and then the 2 flankers. And then they run motion one way or
So you
another.
gotta see illegal
So,
motion. and
I'm
legal
gonna,
shift.
I'm an umpire, I'm behind the linebackers, so my key are the 3, the guard and the 2 guards at the center. But I wanna know where motion's coming from. Because if they're running a misdirection offense, chances are, motion's coming here, play's going here. Okay? So I need to know that so I can watch my blocks, so I can watch the point of attack to see where the holding is. Because if there's a holding on this tight end over here and the play's here, I couldn't care less. I'm not calling it anyhow.
It's somebody else's.
It may be somebody else, but they're letting it go too. Because here's the point of attack. Here's what matters.
Right.
Okay.
Okay? That we're forgetting about. A defensive tackle gets double teamed, I'm not even looking at him. I'm not even looking at him because he's not making a play anyhow. I'm looking where the point of attack is.
So the coach is watching that and he sees that holding and he's going,
And he's screaming at me like crazy.
holding!
Right.
Yeah, but I'm watching the point of attack here.
Did it have an effect on the
On
play?
the play.
Did
Right.
somebody gain an advantage?
Okay,
If they gain an advantage, now I'm thinking about throwing a flag.
interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Good insight.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you did.
But the commitment for doing this the right way, if I were to total up all the money I make during the year officiating and the time I put in, I'm probably at about 50 cents an hour.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, I'm not
Or the
kidding.
loss.
maybe.
That's almost as much as athletic director.
Yeah, exactly. And coaches are the same way.
Don't make any money.
People may say, oh, he gets paid 8,000 to be the head coach. Yeah, but he puts in 8,000 hours too.
That's right,
You know,
that's right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so the commitment chases some people away. The abuse chases some
Oh,
people away.
it's a bit, I think a lot of it, big
And-
percentage of it is
yeah.
the abuse.
Yeah, I think it's a huge percent. The sportsmanship has gotten to the point where
There isn't,
it's almost non-existent now.
isn't
Okay.
that something?
Well, the thing is too, if you love what you do, the money's not really that important.
It's
Right.
not that important.
He just said it.
But if you
Yeah,
gotta
he
put
just
up
said
with
it.
all that abuse.
Yeah, it is. That's why we can't,
You're sure.
I have never one time worked a game in order to get a paycheck. I go out
Exactly.
there because I want to be with those kids, because this year I'm 57 and they're 17. And next year I'm 58, God willing, and they're still 17. Okay? And that keeps me young here. I can't stay young anywhere else, but I can do it here and I can do it here.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
And the friendships that you make along the way, the people that you meet, the coaches, the athletic directors, the other officials, they're just the highest quality people in the world. You know, not a better guy in the world than this guy right here, okay?
Yep.
And there's a lot of ADs in this business that are just as good of a person as Sammy is or Randy is. And, you know, you just cherish those friendships, you really do.
And you hear that from athletes too, when they
Oh, yeah.
retire professional, college, or even high school.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they miss, not so much the field, they miss those relationships.
The relationships.
That they have with the team.
You know, you get a call on a Tuesday afternoon at work from a high school football coach that asks you a question. Hey, I saw this happen in my game. Or I'm watching film on so-and-so and they do this. Is that legal? You know, you get the respect, you earn the respect of those guys. Bobby Palco, when he was coaching at West Allegheny, or even in my 11, I'd hear from Bobby at least 3 or 4 times a season. Hey, I want to try this. What do you think? Is this legal? Can I do this? Or Upper St. Clair, I saw him on film, and this happens. Or, you know, whatever. It's just, you know, the relationships you
gratifying.
build.
So he goes
it
ahead
really
and
is.
does that during a game, and now he
Yeah.
has knowledge to say, hey, I can do this.
Exactly, yeah. That's right.
The coaches come up to you beforehand and say,
Sure.
hey, I'm doing this in case you see this.
When, you know, when the average fan goes to a game, they don't pay attention to what's going on in the pregame. They're watching their kid catch passes or kick field goals or do whatever he's doing. We're out there talking to that coach. Okay, we take the field 45 minutes before game time, walk up to the head coach of the home team. Hey, anything special going on tonight we ought to know about? Any questions you have on the rules? Anything we can answer for you? Anything unusual you do that we ought to know about so we're not caught by surprise? And we'll spend 5 minutes with that coach. And then we'll go over and we'll spend that same 5 minutes with the visiting coach. Now, obviously, we're not going to tell each coach what the other said, but
To give you an
we're
idea.
going to
get
get
the
a
idea
lowdown,
of what's
the
going
lowdown
on.
from each of them.
Right.
And prime example, about 10 years ago, we had a playoff game down at can't remember where it was. Burgettstown was the team playing. Kevin Kessler, great guy, head coach. Pre-game, now, you know us. We're straightforward. We run a lot of off tackles. We run a lot of dive plays. We run some sweep, power sweep. Okay. Well, he had a fake spike. The Dan Marino fake spike.
Uh-huh.
He had that in his repertoire and didn't tell us about it. So my referee and I'm the umpire. Our quarterback, we know time's ticking. They're getting closer out of timeouts. We see the quarterback running up and he's yelling, "Get set, get set, get set." We know he's going to spike the ball, right? He takes the snap. He goes like this. We both blow our whistles and he throws a touchdown
Never
pass.
had a whistle. Right?
Never heard a whistle.
Did you ever have the conversation saying, why didn't you tell us? Or did he say, I didn't want you to tell the other coach?
No,
What'd he say?
no, Kevin knew both of us. He knows both of us.
Why did he say? He didn't want to
After
tell
the
you.
game, we're showering, we're coming down, and here comes Kevin down the hallway. I said, "Hey, why that? Didn't you tell us about your fake spike?" He said, I forgot. I said, we took a touchdown
Okay,
off. He
yes.
said, I know you did. But they got it on the next play, so it was all good. But he didn't tell us.
Great.
But that's why we talk to coaches in the pregame. We want to know if they got anything goofy
Right.
that we should know about. That way, we're not caught off guard, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, that was nice, John, very good.
Thanks, John. That was great.
Thanks, John.
How's your feet?
How's your You know, one other thing, real quick.
Yeah.
As an umpire, I'm with the kicker when the free kick happens, and I'm always asking my kicker, "Hey, you going onside, or you going onside?" And he'll tell me,
Yeah.
and I'll say, "Okay, which way's it going?" And he'll tell me. And,
So that gives you a heads up.
well, it gives me a heads up, but I have a very inconspicuous signal that I share with my two short wings to let them know that an onside kick coming their way. Okay? Believe me, in 40 years, nobody's figured this signal out. But I have it, and my two crewmates know, and it works for us.
Have you tried that in Michigan?
Is that coming up this weekend?
Well, no,
it's after
Joe,
Thanksgiving.
now that you brought that up, Joe, I'm glad you did, because I wrote, did you see the story about?
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, the guy's name is Connor Stallions, right?
And he
So
was-
he was on the bench with a visitor's pass, and John, I didn't know this, visitor's pass in college. They give out 50 visitor's passes, which means you can go between the 20s on the team. Those are for coaches, head coaches.
Anybody.
Whoever. The visitors' passes stay on the sidelines. This guy got a visitor's pass. He was right beside the Central Michigan coach, I guess having ties with Michigan, looking at the signals from Michigan State, right? Is that the whole story, right?
I guess, I don't know.
This
Kind of heard that. I saw
But I'll
that.
tell you this, if Michigan got it, the other schools got it too.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah,
They
and
just
they're-
haven't gotten caught
They're
yet.
just saying that, you know, that Harbaugh had all
Yeah.
those allegations, you know, he got suspended for doing this and that, and now,
Now
here
he's
comes this
still
guy
on sentence, yeah.
on the bench against the team, Michigan State, which they blew out. But
Yeah.
the Michigan line of thinking is, I'm gonna watch their signals, I'm gonna put a guy, and every time the play would come to where this guy was, he would go like this.
Yeah, he had
And he had sunglasses, and it was a
He had
night game. That was the other
on.
thing
He
they
pulled his
said.
hat down and looked away from
Joe, I'm
the
glad you brought
cameras.
that up. So I guess, you know,
That's great.
the NCAA, by the time they would investigate this,
Yeah.
the games would be over, and it would probably be, they said between 200 days
Yeah.
to investigate this. And the Big Ten, is the Big Ten gonna wanna investigate
No.
Michigan
No.
and yank them out?
No.
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 And trust me. if
I'm glad Joe
Michigan's-
brought that up, because I've read some
Michigan's
of that
doing
now.
it, so are the other ones. They're doing it too, they just haven't gotten caught.
They haven't got caught.
Yeah.
Innovative, though.
It was the same thing when the Deflategate football with Brady.
Right.
I happened to run into Ty Law down in Aliquippa while that stuff was going on. And I said, hey, tell me what's going on. He said, they ain't the only ones doing it. He said, everybody's doing it. He said, our guys got caught.
It's like Watergate.
He said, "We got caught."
It's like Watergate. He didn't shut the light out. He got caught.
He said, everybody does it.
Listen, that was great information we
Great,
got
yeah,
from
good
our man
information.
Johnny.
We
I'm
gotta
glad
get
you
John
come on,
back
John.
here.
You know what? We're not going to get into this professional refereeing. We're going to have you down here another
Another
night.
time.
We'll talk about it.
But real quick Lindy story, and this is real quick. I had just started officiating varsity football with the late Chuck Cuba, okay? I was on Chuck's crew. And we had a game at Shaler. And this is when the run and shoot was real popular. Remember Warren Moon with the Oilers? The run and shoot offense, the greatest thing ever, right? Well, Shaler's running this run and shoot, okay? So Friday night, we have our game, we're at Shaler. Saturday morning, I got a JV game at Newcastle. I'm coming in the stadium. Here comes Coach down the track. I want to talk to you. I said, okay, what's up, Coach? You were at Shaler last night. I said, yep. He said, tell me about this shoot and run thing they do. I said, Coach, they're pretty good at it. I said, they got a nice quarterback. I said, they split four wides. Their back's a flanker. And they do all this sophisticated, And he said, stop. I said, okay. He said, here is, let me tell you something. I said, what's that, Coach? He said, the guy on the other side of you, if you put him on his rear end more times than he puts you on yours, you win the game.
That's right.
That's all it takes.
Oh, it's
Said
a,
how many times?
Great quote.
Yeah.
You
Beat
put
the
him
guy-
down more times than he puts you down. you
Beat the
win.
guy in front of you.
That's it.
That was
And
it.
he's right. He's
Either
right.
hit her or hit
To
him.
this day, he's right.
We always say football's not for everybody because you go to the ground a lot.
That's right.
And somebody punches you, you got to punch them back, right?
Right.
Right, Joe?
Yep.
If you don't punch them back, you got problems.
Yeah.
It's like a street fight. You got to fight back, you know.
You gotta get up.
Well,
You gotta
listen,
Get up and go.
we want to thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
Joe.
welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you for
guys
coming.
having
Thank
me.
you.
Donnie, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Johnny, thank
Nice
you.
meeting all you guys.
Yes, nice
man.
meeting you.
It's
Thank
been
you very
awesome.
much. Thank you for coming.
Good seeing you.
Pleasure.
Listen, we're
Thanks,
gonna,
brother.
our next show here, oh wait, one more thing. Randy's gonna talk a little bit real quick about Friday night. Tickets to go to see the Union game, because it is gonna be hosted at Newcastle. Go
Yes.
ahead, Randy.
Tickets, they will sell at the gate, or you can go online to gofan.com and buy your tickets, and they'll scan them at the gates also. The game's at 7 o'clock. Union will be on the still side of the stadium. Burgestown will be on Newcastle's home side where the students sit, so that Union will use our locker room and the other team will use the visiting locker room. Should be a good game. Should be a good night,
We haven't
too.
had a playoff game in a while.
Yeah,
right?
we have not.
Yeah,
No, we have not.
football.
Nice. That's good.
Next Wednesday at 6 o'clock, Ronnie.
6.
We're going to sleep. No, I took care of him.
Where's the
tonight.
coffee?
We brought him hot dogs tonight. He's good. Next Wednesday, 6 o'clock, we're having Mark Mangino here. He'll be here. He'll be here in the
Bear.
The Bear.
Mark Bear Mangino will be here. So, hey, I'm glad everybody's here tonight. Everybody's healthy. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
We're gonna,
Thanks,
we had,
Sam.
we had a great show tonight. Thanks for everybody coming down a little bit later. You're ready to go to bed? I
Yep.
know I am, Randy.
I am.
Thank Lindy.
This guy gets up at 3:15 every morning.
Thank Lindy for them hot dogs, Sam.
Did
Yeah,
you take a
Lindy-
nap
oh,
before you
Lindy.
came?
No.
Lindy, thank
Lindy,
you.
for
Thanks,
everything.
Lindy.
Fast
Thank you.
tonight.
very much,
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
sponsor. And again, any Red Hurricane out there that wants to come down to the show, Wednesdays, for the rest of the period here, we will be here at 6 o'clock. We are having a Toys for Tots here, 6 to 8 on December 20th. 6 to 8. So if you have any, we are going to, what we planned on doing with that, me and Ronnie talked about it, we're going to go to Lockley School. And we're going to see, I'm going to get a list. I got to talk to Joe Anderson, he's the principal there. And we're going to get a list of the needy families that needs the toys. Last year, we had a food drive last year.
Yeah, food
So
drive.
this year, we're going to do the Toys for Tots. Right here, the guy down here is just fantastic
Yep.
with everybody. He gets Ronnie to make us come in here. This is the closest thing to being in the studio.
Right.
So we really like
This
it.
is
So It's
awesome.
really good.
Yep, sure
Yeah,
is.
it's really nice. The old Penn Power building, he did a really good job with this. And Ronnie for having us down here, so that's great. So Toys for Tots, December 20th, 6 to 8. Next Wednesday, Bear Mangino will be here at the show. Okay, guys? Bobby?
Keep working.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for over 90 years.
We're more than just a law firm. We're your friends, your neighbors, an advocate when life takes an unexpected turn.
We're not just lawyers that practice law. We live in this community, just like you.
When you need us most, we're at our best.